Alright guys, so we're able to show our public stories on slash stories. Now we want to work on the show page, which is stories slash show slash and whatever the ID. So let's go to our routes and then stories.js, and we want to add in another route here. We'll go right here and say router. Actually, let's put a comment. We'll say show single story. And we'll say router.get. And the route is going to be it's going to be stories slash show slash ID, okay, colon ID, which is going to be a placeholder for whatever's in the URL. All right, now in here we're just going to say story dot find one, and we want to pass in for parameters. We want to pass in an object where we're looking for underscore ID should match. It should match the ID that's in the URL, and we can get that with request.params.id. Okay, so then we're going to do .then, and that's going to give us a story back. Okay, then we want to render. We'll say res.render, and we're going to pass in this is going to be what, stories slash show, and that should do it. Oh, we need to pass in the actual story, so put an object with story and story. Okay, let's save it, and now if we reload this, we'll get show story. Now we should have access to the actual story data depending on which one matches this ID. So let's go into our show handlebars, and we're actually going to split this up into two columns. We're going to have one large column that has the story and one that has the author's name and the author's avatar from Google. So let's just get rid of this and let's put in a row. And we're going to say we want a class of call, we want a class of S12, and a class of M9. It's going to be a 9-column div. All right, and then we're going to have an H3 in here with the story title. So we'll say story.title. And let's just try that just to see if we can actually get the title. All right, so we get story 1, good. If we go to story 3, we get story 3. So let's see, we have our 9-column div, then we're going to have a 3-column, so I'm going to copy this and change this to M3, and then just get rid of that. So we'll continue in the 9-column div. So underneath that, we're going to have a div with the class of card. I'm also going to give it the class of story. Okay, and then inside here we'll have card content. And inside here, what I want to put is the date. This is actually going to be in a span with the class of card-title. And we're going to say story.date. Now, the format of this date, if we go ahead and save and we take a look, is not very good. So we're going to install something called Moment, which is used to format dates. Okay, so we're going to do that in a little bit, but let's finish this first. So let's see, under the span, let's put the body. Get rid of that. So under the span, we're going to put 3 curly braces and say story body. Now the reason we put 3 is because we do want to parse the HTML here. If we go ahead and reload, you'll see that now we have our spaces, our paragraphs. All right, and that's what I wanted. So now on this side, in the 3-column, we're going to have another card. So let's say class card, and let's say center align. And inside here, we'll have another class of card content. And we're going to have a span with the class of card title. And inside here, we're going to have the user's name. Now, in order to get the user info, we need to go back to our route, and right above .then, we're going to say .populate, and we want to populate with the user. Okay, so now over here in the title, we're going to say story.user.firstname, and let's say story.user.lastname. Save, and there we go. And then I want to put the user's image, so that's going to go under the span. I'm going to put an image tag, and the source is going to go to story.user.image. That'll load whatever the user's Google image is. All right, and let's add a class to this as well, because if we just do it like this, you'll see it goes outside of its element. So we're going to add a class here of let's see, for one thing I want to make it a circle, and then let's also add responsive-img, and that'll contain it inside of its div. Now one more thing I want to put over here is a link to go to all of the stories from that user. So we're going to go, let's see, under the card content, which ends right here, and we're going to put card action. Okay, in the card action we'll put an A tag, and that's going to go to /stories/user/ and then we want the user's ID, which we can get with story.user.id. All right, now this isn't going to work yet. We haven't created this route, but we will create it later. All right, and then inside here we're going to say more from, and then the user's first name again, which is story.user.firstname. Let's go ahead and reload, and we get more from Brad. All right. And this should be responsive. If we go, okay, so it should look good on mobile devices as well. Actually, you know what? Let's make this 8 columns and this 4 instead of 9 and 3, because this is a little too skinny. So we'll change this M3 to M4 and this M9 to M8. Okay, I think that's a little better. Now I know there's a lot of markup in this course in these applications, but I wanted to make something that looks halfway decent. I didn't just want you guys to, you know, just have ugly HTML applications with no CSS, no framework or anything. So I understand that it's frustrating to be typing out markup when you're trying to learn Express and Mongo and all this other stuff. But realize that I want you to be able to create a decent looking application. All right, now the last thing I want to do is format this date. So we're going to install something called Moment. So let's go over here and clear this out, and we'll say npm install --save. I think it's, I don't know if it's Moment or Moment.js. 1 second. Yeah, it's just Moment. All right, so we'll go and we'll run our server again. And now I'm going to create a another helper in here in the HBS. So helpers/hbs.js, and we're going to call this one format date. All right. So we also want to bring in Moment to be able to use it. So up here we're going to say const moment equals require moment. And the format date is going to take in 2 things. It's going to take in the date itself to format, and then the actual type of format we want. And then all we're going to do is return moment, pass in the date that's passed in, and then say .format, and then pass in whatever format is passed in. Okay, so whatever this date, that's going to go in here. The format we passed in is going to go in here, and that's going to be returned. So let's save that. Let's go to our show.handlebars and go to where we have our date, and we're going to just go and say format date. Okay, this is the first parameter, which is the actual date, and then the next one is the format that we want. So I'm going to say 4M's do and then 4Y's. So this is a special moment date format. If you go to momentjs.org, I think it is, or whatever the website is, it gives you a list of the different formats you can use. So if I save this and reload, oh, we didn't add the helper, so we have to go to app.js. Just like we brought in truncate and strip tags, we also have to bring in format date, and then we have to pass it in right here. Alright, so let's save that and reload, and now we get September 21st, 2017. Alright, so in the next video we're going to get started on the dashboard. Okay, so the dashboard is just going to be a table that's going to list all of the current logged in users' stories, and it should have an edit button and also a delete button to delete stories.